pressure weren't enough, she's the first Latina ever elected council speaker. And with that comes heightened expectation.
I think the level of attention and scrutiny probably is one that would not be the same for a male counterpart.
Joining me now to discuss the challenges unique to women in leadership positions is Congresswoman Speier. Thank you so much, Representative, for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
You know, I'm curious, you've been at this a long time. Have you experienced this yourself, this sense that the expectations for you are different than they would be for a male counterpart?
I think without a doubt women have had to jump a little higher, be a little smarter, work a little harder, but in the end it has all been worthwhile. I remember when I first ran for public office, it was back in 1979, and I was actually running for Congress, and I had women who would say things like, well, I'm not going to vote for her just because she's a woman. So in fact, some of the challenges have been from women as opposed to men in terms of scrutiny.
You know, when I was reading about the new council speaker, one of the critiques of her is that she sort of isn't friendly enough or isn't nice enough. I'm not sure that's a critique you would really hear of a male leader, that you don't like her disposition.
Well, in fact, we're also evaluated as to how we cut our hair, wear our hair, what kind of clothes we wear. I remember the first time a woman wore a pantsuit onto the floor of the California State Senate, and all people were aghast that women would start to do that. So I'm going back a few years now, but we're still all pioneers.
You know, we are in fact all pioneers, and Mark-Viverito will follow in the steps of Speaker Christine Quinn. So she's coming into an office that a woman has held before. In your experience, because you are certainly not the first woman to serve in the United States House of Representatives, how important is it to have women come before you?
Even though women represent over 52%, 53% of the voting population in this country, we still have only a fraction of the leadership roles. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference because up until the Affordable Care Act was passed, it was okay for insurance companies to discriminate against women based on their gender. The fact that women have a tougher time qualifying for loans as small business women is an issue that we still haven't cracked. So it's very important for women to be in positions where we can address these issues. I've been working on the issue of military rape for 3 years now. It's unconscionable that for decades we've known about that issue, and yet we haven't addressed it. And there's much greater scrutiny on it now because women in both the House and the Senate are looking at that issue.
You know, I was a page in Congress back in the 90s when they still had a page program, and at the time everyone was so excited because they'd finally gotten a women's bathroom off of the House floor. I mean, this was an institution that was not built with women in mind as voters and constituents, nor as a part of the actual voting body. In the time that you have been in Congress, how much change have you seen within the institution itself?
Well, if you're measuring it by bathrooms, we now have 2 bathrooms off the House floor. So even the staff members that are female now are going to be able to access the bathroom off the House floor. So we are making progress. I don't think we're making progress fast enough, and certainly the numbers of women in the House and in the Senate would suggest that, and particularly on the Republican side of the aisle. Very few Republican women in the House and in the Senate, and that's got to change over time as well.
You spoke very openly about your experience with an abortion procedure for what you said was a wanted pregnancy, and it was sort of a spontaneous decision to share what is a very personal story, a story that only a female legislator can share. I'm curious, what was the response from your male peers in the House?
Actually, it was overwhelmingly supportive, and while that issue is one that's very personal to me and to, frankly, women across this country in more numbers than we realize, 1 in 3 pregnancies is oftentimes ends in an abortion. The truth of the matter is we had a Republican member on the other side, a male member, who was talking about this issue, knew nothing about the issue, and was really giving falsehoods on the House floor. So I was compelled to speak up and say, you have no idea what you're talking about. I've undergone this experience. I know exactly what happens.
Congresswoman Speier, it is great to see you always. I hope you'll come back and talk about some of your legislative initiatives in the House.
Be happy to.
All right.